today's show, we are going to be reviewing division within MAGA, the Make America Great Again movement in the United States of America, the current division. But we're not going to be using a news article that was written just today or just this past week. Nor are we going to be lowering ourselves to the point of taking money from other countries and outside interests to saying that the United States military killed Charlie Kirk. We're not going to go that low because we're not scumbags. We actually like our country, and knowing that we have our countrymen and our brothers and our sisters serving in the United States Armed Forces, we're not going to be blaming the United States Armed Forces for killing Charlie Kirk, who, by the way, I don't think is dead in the first place. But if he was dead, he's not going to be killed over a little bit of money or because Erica Kirk wants money. He's going to be killed, if he was killed, because of international issues which go back thousands of years and are worth trillions upon trillions of dollars, such as the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan and a potential upcoming Pakistan war, and Charlie Kirk's comments that the United States should refrain from being involved in that. That would be something that would reach the level necessary to maybe orchestrate an assassination if one were to occur. No matter how many receipts, no matter how much evidence people throw out there, they throw out their evidence because they don't want you to think. Anyways, just think. Think. We're going to be reviewing an article that is not from that long ago. This was written in early, I think the date I recall is January 12, 2025. January 12, 2025. So at the beginning of this year, I think this is the week before Donald Trump was sworn in for his second presidential term. They're non-contiguous, of course, in early 2025. But it's not called Why MAGA is Being Split. It's called The Indians Dividing America. It's amazing that only our channel, which is actually thinking and not, running around following evidence and receipts all over the place that are blowing around in the wind, we're actually thinking here, because when you're an analyst, you need as much evidence as possible, but you also realize that evidence and receipts is no substitute for thinking. And you know that if you wanted to manipulate a situation, if you want to control a population, you can't risk them thinking on their own. You need to stop them from thinking. And one way is that you can stop people from using their critical thinking skills is to drown them with evidence and receipts. And every time they start to think, you throw more evidence or receipts at them. And if the receipts and the evidence don't necessarily line up, if people are confused at how they connect, even better, make yourself look smart and keep people confused. You don't want people to think. I want people to think. We should all want to think. That's the only way you get to the right answer. Evidence doesn't bring you to the right answer. Evidence plus thinking and analysis brings you to the right answer. So here, we know that a MAGA is being divided. We know we can see the fracturing, from space, almost literally. But this is about how the Indians, I don't mean Chief does science with pipette. I don't mean Chief patch with clamps. We're talking about actual Asian Indians, people from the nation of India. The Indians Dividing MAGA, and it was written by Shashi Tharoor. This is a fascinating article because it sort of suggests that MAGA is going to be, and is at that time, and will be even more so, divided by people of Indian ethnicity in the United States and in the United States government. Now, Shashi Tharoor is no ordinary dude. He is arguably the second or the third most politically powerful person in what is now the most populous nation in the world. Now, that's a name that everybody should know. And I have apologized before because I wouldn't have known who that person was myself a month or so ago. Shashi Tharoor was even in Harvey Weinstein and Tucker Carlson magazine talk going back to 1999-2000. Shashi Tharoor was at the side of United Nations Director President Kofi Annan of Ghana for many years before 9/11 as the head of communications for the United Nations. Kind of a big deal, especially an organization whose role it is to communicate with a multitude of nations, different languages, and different cultures. Shashi Tharoor is magnificently important. Shashi Tharoor has confessed to being in New York City on the day of 9/11. I'm not saying he did 9/11, please. But it's just one of those things. Now, I don't know if he was or it wasn't, okay? And I'm not even sure if it's important to prove if he was or wasn't there. The point, though, is that he had made a decision to highlight it. So why would you say something like that? First off, if you were there, why communicate it? I mean, was it really important? Do you really need to inject that you were there? It's almost irrelevant whether he wasn't or wasn't there. What's relevant is that he feels the need to assert that he was there, which means he was probably standing next to, and this is no joke, Kofi Annan heading the United Nations. These are all names, by the way, that are documented in the book that came out September 9th, 2001, Germs, the most important book you need to study to understand 9/11, I swear. But also Klaus Schwab. And I have the video clip of Klaus Schwab saying he was next to Kofi Annan, and they looked up and they saw the plane going into the buildings. Again, whether or not they were actually there and saw that, that's not the point. The point is they felt compelled, or they were asked to, say that story, which is in and of itself interesting enough. And that is evidence. Evidence doesn't mean it actually happened. Evidence is just evidence. I could show you a used laundry receipt. Say this is evidence. What does it mean? I don't know. It means something. Is it useful? I don't know. That's where you have to use your critical thinking skills, right? Effectively, every book and every piece of paper in my room right now is evidence of Charlie Kirk assassination. Doesn't mean it's relevant, but I could swarm you with all of it and say, this is evidence. Stop thinking. Just listen to me. Anyways, evidence is no replacement for critical thinking. And one of the ways that you can tell that people are usually not working in your interest, that are working against you, that are trying to control you, is they keep giving you more and more evidence without telling you, okay, just go off right now and just think. Find a nice, peaceful place, have some warm, hot chocolate, or whatever it is you want to do. Go for a walk, smell the dandelions, take pictures of squirrels, whatever your thing is, right? Go to a car show, I don't know, go for a hike, and just think. Let the evidence seep in and stew. Think about it for a while. Analyze. That's what you have to do. You have to analyze it now. You don't get more evidence and then go, well, what does all this add up to? Well, I know we need more evidence. No, at some point you have enough. Just think. So we think here. And it's the thinking part that allows people to figure out what's going on without having every single piece of evidence. You don't need all the evidence. You just need some. And then you just think. That's how it works. You think based upon some evidence which you can use to create abstractions, models in your head, and then you put the rest together using your critical thinking skills. And oddly enough, I'm the person with the largest archive on the internet, HoustonITS.com or Houstonic.live. You can just go up to the top and look at the letters. Anyways, so what we're doing here is the Indians dividing MAGA. And Shashi Tharoor, this critically important person, who is still critically important today, he's in a sparring match in India with Trump right now. Most Americans seem to not know this because if you look at Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and everyone around them and everyone that's using their videos to promote more and more evidence, for some reason, none of these people use the word India. It's a word that is not in their vocabulary. I don't know why. It's 1 out of every 5 people on the planet. It is the nation which is on track to have the world's largest economy in another 10 or 15 years, but maybe even less at this pace right now, given how many Americans have been murdered through protocols and opioids and everything else. They may hit that point sooner. But other podcasters get money directly or indirectly to not mention the elephant in the room, which is India. You should download the transcripts of people such as Candace Owens and people that say Candace Owens is awesome. Just do a keyword search for India. It's like, wow, how are they not mentioning it? Now, it'd be one thing if they weren't mentioning it because it's not relevant, but India is relevant, especially when you consider the fact that if there's any one thing that Charlie Kirk said that would have been inflammatory, it wasn't we should cut off Israel. Because Israel's a teeny tiny little itsy bitsy little tiny country territory. It's very, 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 very small. But when Charlie Kirk makes a statement that the United States should refrain from getting involved in the conflicts between India and Pakistan, that is gigantic. Now, I've heard follow the money, which is absolutely true. That is a great guiding principle when doing your analysis. Follow the money. Follow the money means you find the biggest pile of money. And even once you believe you found the biggest pile of money, if something comes to your attention, a bigger pile of money, you go, wow, this is deceptive. Okay, the smaller pile, I should be focusing on the bigger pile. That's what following the money doesn't mean, hey, here's $10 million. That's a lot of money for most people, but don't look any further, okay? Follow the money means you keep thinking. And it's one of the things that I notice that most other researchers and podcasters right now don't want you to do, like Candace Owens. They don't want you thinking. They want you captivated and not thinking. They want you continuously listening for more evidence as if that's what you need. You don't need more evidence. I know you're smarter than that. What you need is just a little bit of time and space to think about what it is you saw. You don't need more evidence. So Shashi Tharoor here is talking about the division of MAGA. And listening to my other content, you would see that United Nations and whatever forces around it, combined with India, and India in particular, are a huge part of what's dividing the United States right now. And you would have already heard about this if other people weren't trying to deceive you and distract you and mislead you and control you by not saying the keyword India. But that's where we are different, because we aren't just telling you shut up and listen to the receipts and the evidence. We're telling you to think. And if you were thinking, you'd realize no one is saying this word. So let me play a little bit of music here that I can. Anyways, this is not going to be a super long show. I want to read this. Some good news. We have a last-minute announcement of a wedding in the family. And we have some family coming in from out of town. So we have some happiness and joy, some future to celebrate here over the next several days. I'm going to do my best to put out little pieces every day just so that you don't go crazy being drowned in the evidence that Candace Owens and other similar channels are telling you to suck up. November 22nd, 2025.
About a lucky man who made the grade. And though the news was rather sad, well, I just had to laugh. I saw the photograph. He blew his mind out in a car. Didn't notice that the lights had changed. A crowd of people stood and stared. They'd seen his face before. Nobody was really sure if he was from the House of Lords. I saw a film today, oh boy. The English army just won the war. A crowd of people turned away, but I just had to look, having read the book. I'd love to turn you up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my head, found my way downstairs and drank a cup, and looking up I noticed I was late. Found my coat and grabbed my hat, made the bus in seconds flat. Found my way upstairs and had a smoke, and somebody spoke and I went into a dream. them all. Now they know how many holes it takes to fill it out.
Okay, let's get down to business. Mark Kulak, Houstonic.live, HOUSATONIC.LIVE. A show brought to you by someone who was a analyst and engineer in the tech industry for about 23 years or so, and run-ins with and awareness of addiction, substance addiction within the United States of America, how it was impacting our family, how it was being underreported in the news. Eventually led me to do more and more online research and become politically active. Chronic illness also factored into this. And here we are. I started my program 7 or so years ago right now, and it is November 22nd, 2025. So let's do the reading. This article is not zooming in that well, so we'll just have to work with it. Again, this is January 12th, 2025, The Indians Dividing MAGA. Written out of New Delhi, India. Perhaps it should be... Let me see it. Perhaps it... Get the audio right here. Perhaps it should not be surprising that India should feature so prominently in the, quote, civil war, unquote, that has emerged within United States President-elect Donald Trump's Make America Great Again movement, or MAGA. Surprising or not, that is what is happening with an India-shaped chasm having formed between MAGA's warring factions. So, the former director of communications for the UN, the second or third, maybe, most powerful person in India, the most populous nation in the world, someone whose son works at the Washington Post and played a big role in planting articles about lab leaks out of China and viruses out of China in early 2020. A man this powerful is openly saying that the chasm in MAGA in the week before Donald Trump was elected president is because of India and Indians. And somehow, every single one of the citizen journalists that is walking about, gathering receipts and evidence and shoving them in your face and telling you that it means something without allowing you to do any analysis of it, has never mentioned this. How is it possible? It's almost as if the more evidence people provide, it becomes evidence that they don't want you to think. On one side stand those who believe, realistically or not, that the key to restoring American greatness lies in isolationism, tax cuts, and deregulation, essentially reducing America's external obligations, shrinking the government, and unleashing business by hiring the best talent available from around the world. Reducing America's external obligations, shrinking the government, and unleashing... So this is interesting. Unleashing business by hiring the best talent available from around the world. So that would mean that business can hire anyone. And so already, this is an interesting article. I didn't expect to find this. I didn't expect to find this type of contradiction. But if America is isolationist, then why would it be hiring the best talent around the world? So this statement right here is already contradiction. Okay, on the other side, however, MAGA has always been first and foremost a reaction to cosmopolitanism, MAGA is a reaction to cosmopolitanism. What the hell is that? Oh, no. We are too cosmopolitan. I'm an anti-cosmopolitanist. Oh, Shashi. You and your rich, you're focusing so much on learning more words in your rich Oxford accent. You're not even thinking clearly here. MAGA has been, I should try to sound like First and foremost, however, MAGA has always been first and foremost a reaction to cosmopolitanism, multiculturalism, and pluralism in America. In their view, America greatness is synonymous with American whiteness. Oh my goodness, that's right. It's whiteness. What does that even mean? I couldn't agree more with Jonathan Cooey, a Giga on Biologic, on this one. What does that mean, whiteness? What is white? Does it mean Caucasian? Because Caucasian includes Algerian, and there's a vast quantity of people in the Middle East that are really Caucasians. Just, darker skin. What the heck does that even mean? Whiteness. There was once a time that, the whites of England looked down upon the whites of France. There was a time when the whites of France looked down upon the whites of Italy. Then the whites of Italy looked down upon the whites of Sicily. And then the whites of Sicily looked down upon the whites of Algeria. And the whites of Algeria looked down upon the whites of, and so on and so forth. I mean, eventually it's like, okay, well, that person is African. But then there's India, and then there's Chinese and Mongolian. So, but what does whiteness mean? And what does it not mean? It's so vague. Not to mention the vast majority of Americans, the vast majority, are not even 100% white, 100% Caucasian. The First Nation population of the United States of America, pure blood is mostly gone right now. It's been intermixed. Most black Americans are not 100% black, 100% African, whatever that does mean or doesn't mean. We're a mixed race. It also gets even more complicated than that because of the mitochondrial functions, where the mother passes on the genetics of the microbiome through breastfeeding. So you have all of these these maps of genetic diversity in the United States right now and in America. What does that even mean, whiteness? Really? Oh, my goodness. India has become Exhibit A for both sides. By many measures, Indians are a model minority. 72% of Indian immigrants to the United States are university graduates, and Indians are among the highest-earning immigrant groups. Actually, Indians are the most well-paid and the highest-earning demographic in the United States of America. And that's effed up. I remember when the Irish population came to the United States, they were looked down upon as the poor Irish. When the Italian population came to the United States, they were looked down upon as being the poor Italians. When the more Slavic population came in, they were looked down upon. When the Poles came in, they were looked down upon. There was not a time when Polish people came to the United States and instantly had several times the income as the population that was already here in the United States. That's never happened before. Nor has there ever been a time when, say, the population from Poland or Romania came to the United States and instantly was making several times the population and had a 20 to 30 times a greater chance of their children getting in the political office than the native population. That's never happened before. This is not just another wave of immigration, for heaven's sake. Usually, when a population of people comes into a nation and is making several times the income as the existing population and has a several times higher odds of being in political power, that usually correlates with invasion. Now, I'm not saying that this is invasion, but think about it. When whites came to Africa for resources and slaves, They were almost all the time instantly in political power and all the time had way more money. That's kind of how it works. That's why it was such a bad deal for people in Africa. This is so insulting to every other immigrant wave to the United States and to the Americas. This is such a middle finger in their face to say it's just another immigrant wave. See, I've gone from Shashi Tharoor, okay, he's in another country, he can say what he wants, whatever, but now I don't like him because I think he's an asshole. So let's continue on here. And again, this is the second most powerful person in India and one of the most powerful people in the world. That other citizen journalists are screwing you and doing you a disservice by never mentioning this person's name, never pushing this person's name in a book, never talking about India, and now they want you to think that Charlie Kirk's assassination is because the U.S. military is wants to run around with Erica Kirk and just shoot people for money? Really? Really? Well, I'm not one of those backstabbers like that. Wow. India has become Exhibit A for both sides. By many measures, Indians are a model minority. 72% of Indian immigrants in the United States are university graduates. Where's the whole working your way up from the bottom thing? Oh, that's right. You're coming here with fake degrees. I worked in the tech industry. I remember being in groups that were basically 100% Indian, and I remember feeling they did not want me there. I'm sorry. As someone who is white, I guess, the closest I've ever felt to racism was being in a tech company full of people from India. They hated my ass. I'm not crying victim here. Please don't get me wrong. I grew up in Bridgeport. I grew up in Bridgeport at the highest murder rate in the United States of America. I would walk around anywhere in Bridgeport and I would never feel that type of hatred. So sorry. No, I'm not sorry. So India has become Exhibit A for both sides. By many measures, Indians are a model minority. 72% of Indian immigrants in the United States are university graduates, and Indians are among the highest earning immigrant groups. Funny that we have someone who has some Indian ethnicity in our church circle, in our friend circle, who has a PhD and everything else. Why isn't he incredibly wealthy? Oh, I wonder if it's because his interests align with America and our brotherly interests as opposed to a foreign nation. Indians, including Indian Americans, have led about 25% of Silicon Valley startups in the last quarter century, as well as America's tech behemoths, including Alphabet, Microsoft, Adobe, and IBM. That's right. Currently, Alphabet, Microsoft, Adobe, and IBM are all run by Indians. All of them. Now, given the fact that India is Indians are 3% of the U.S. population? That is statistically impossible. Unless it's a conspiracy for tech industries and biotech companies to be run by people from a foreign nation. Now, that's something that would be quite a story, and you would think that other citizen journalists would be all over this, but instead they're wasting your time, such as Candace Owens talking about, the U.S. military wanting to kill Charlie Kirk for a little bit of money? Meanwhile, Candace Owens won't ever say the word India, and I think it's because she and other people who promote her are on the take to get you to think about the U.S. military bad, Israel bad, Jews bad, Epstein bad, Trump bad, and so on and so forth without ever mentioning India. But this is already known. We already know that this was going to happen. Even Shashi Tharoor in his lying, silver Oxford tongue dialect, even he was at least he was honest enough to tell you that this was going to happen. And it's exactly what happened. People are so busy showing you other evidence and meaningless evidence. Effectively, right now, all of this evidence about the U.S. military being involved. And by the way, if the Air Force was involved in killing Charlie Kirk, that's right. The Air Force lawyer was Richard Verma. So right there, Richard Verma, Air Force, Air Force, ROTC, Richard Verma, ROTC, lawyer, Air Force, Richard Verma, Air Force, ROTC, Richard Verma, State Department, Richard Verma, Air Force, ROTC, Charlie Kirk, Richard Verma, ROTC, Air Force, ROTC, Charlie Kirk, Richard Verma, Ambassador to India, Richard Verma, Vice President of MasterCard, Richard Verma, head of the economic recovery of Ukraine. If Ukraine has something to do with it, the person in the State Department who is responsible for the economic recovery of Ukraine, Richard Verma, should have something to do with it. So, and again, you'll notice I go through these little spurts in my video where I'm basically just trying to hit all the keyword algorithms, because that's what's going on right now. Keyword algorithms. They're using AI, so I'm playing right into it. If you want to talk about how the ROTC and the U.S. military and so on is killing Charlie Kirk, and but then you slice off, or you throw the black cloth over people with just very small holes cut in it. Like, just look at this and just look at that and ignore everything else. It's similar to saying, yeah, that matters, but here's some more laundry receipts, more evidence. Stop thinking. This helps to explain why Economy First MAGA faction was perfectly happy to see Trump nominate several Indian Americans for key positions in this administration, including Jayanta Bhattacharya. So Shashi Tharoor, who you never heard of before, and I've never heard of before because I've been stuck thinking that there was some value in listening to other people that, just go around burning shoe leather and showing evidence, like Candace Owens and so on. But they were already telling us that one of the great things to happen in the United States of America was the nomination of Jayanta Bhattacharya. I'll bet you Jayanta Bhattacharya has already met with and was blessed by Shashi Tharoor years ago. In fact, I suspect Shashi Tharoor has been providing a consulting service to high-potential Indian Americans to teach them how to talk without an Indian accent. Have you ever listened to Vivek Ramaswamy? Vivek Ramaswamy's way of speaking is weird. It's ultra. He works really hard in making sure he keeps the deep voice. If I really wanted to, I could speak with a much deeper voice all the time. You would barely recognize me. I did not even touch the bass on my soundboard. I have a massive chest, and if I really wanted to focus on it, I could actually blow out the bass. I could. But I prefer just to talk here, all right? Because I already know that I got so much that I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I don't need to drive a monster truck around town to make up for something that I'm lacking. So my voice is my voice, and I just speak however I want. But if you listen to Vivek, he talks in a weird way. It's not really a King's English. It's not really a high-educated American English. It's something that's been created. And if you hear a little bit in a Jayanta Bhattacharya, you hear a little bit in the Marty McCary, you hear a little bit of it in the that other, not so much the FDA director, but you hear a lot of Indian Americans use this forced deep voice, pseudo high intellectual command of the vocabulary. Okay, and it's not American English. It's almost a Hollywood-esque pretend way of talking. And Vivek is one, and there was someone else on one of the recent health summits, near Jayanta Bhattacharya that spoke the same way. I'm like, that's a weird English. It is a fictional English, and I think Shashi Tharoor has created a school, which we don't know about, to teach Indian Americans how to speak with more bass and more pseudo-faux intellectual authority. And they all picked up on it. Because I'll bet you if you listen to other people that Vivek Ramaswamy is friends with, they don't sound like that. Maybe one or two do because they went to the Shashi Tharoor school of how to sound like an intelligent white guy. Because whiteness is what's running it all, right? So, who else kind of has it? Who is it? Patrick Soon-Shiong. He's an odd example because he's Chinese, of course. Grew up in South Africa, but he has it as well. It's not even really a South African accent. Most South Africans sound like they have a little bit of a. It's different, okay? You can tell there's like this school of sounding a certain way, and I guess you win points when you speak with a certain style and a certain bass as a male. Okay, and with enough training, you always do it. It becomes second nature. I guess maybe a lot of other podcasters who do that as well. I'll bet you like a Howard Stern has a lot of that. That professional training to sound like, whoa, is that deep? Okay. But he's praising Jayanta Bhattacharya. Now, I don't give two shits if Jayanta Bhattacharya is Indian. I just want an NIH director that talks about why life expectancy is going down. That's it, and raise awareness of it. And as I said before, even though I've been part of awareness raising to the point where there's a license plate in the state of Massachusetts, you can get a license plate, an OA license plate, overdose awareness, a custom vanity plate right now. That's how much I've been working in this and for how long I've been involved in this mess. Okay? Because I just want awareness, overdose awareness. Once people realize, wow, there's really that many overdoses, they don't want you to know. So one of the biggest things that leads to the most overdoses, I think, is no awareness. So Jayanta Bhattacharya's number one job, life expectancy increases, should be to have awareness of the drug epidemic, and he's not doing it. So the NIH director is neglecting to do his one job to save lives, meaning we have someone born in India running the National Institutes of Health right now who is failing to do the most important part of his job, which is to raise awareness of why people die. He's lying about it. And what's even worse is fentanyl components and opioid components come from India. So it's even possible that Jayanta Bhattacharya he's both enabling more people to die of opioids. He's potentially complicit, and India being the source of a lot of lethal fentanyl, and he's even misattributing those deaths to other things, such as viruses out of caves and bad vaccines and so on, which in and of themselves lead to other medical interventions which can cause more harm. So Jayanta Bhattacharya is complicit in mass murder at this point. The fact that he's an Indian is really not the problem. It's the fact that he's complicit in mass murder. I don't care if the Dalai Lama himself, who I know is not Indian, were to come to the United States and run the NIH, as long as he would, walk around barefoot in his robe and just help people be aware that overdoses were a problem. It's not a race thing. Of course it isn't. But here we are led to believe that this guy is the economic engine, a future hero for the United States of America. We should be openly praising. And it's so interesting that that's the very first name that Shashi Tharoor called out on January 12, 2025. Jayanta Bhattacharya, the very first name, someone complicit in mass murder right now by failing to do his job running the NIH. Not good. Not good. So continuing on here, it's number 2, Kash Patel, whose real first name is Kashyap. Sounds a little bit like Cash App. So Kashyap Patel, known as Cash. Of course, Kash Patel is beloved by Steve Bannon, who's definitely in bed with India, just like a lot of other podcasters. And the reason why they don't talk about India is because they directly or indirectly get paid by India, and they're getting paid by India to divide the United States, to have people running around talking about everything but the elephant in the room. So Bhattacharya and Patel praised by among the most powerful people in the world, the second most powerful person in India, the person who was in Harvey Weinstein magazines pre 9/11, the person who was with Klaus Schwab and Kofi Annan on the day of 9/11, the person whose a son at the Washington Post plays a role in seeding narratives about lab leaks and China bad, China Chernobyl to the United States of America, is here telling us about Bhattacharya and Patel. One complicit in murder, the other one may be complicit in whatever happened with Charlie Kirk. And here we are. Oh, by the way, if you want to know about Valhalla, newsflash, Valhalla is a town in the United States of America. Valhalla is a community in Port Chester, New York. No. Valhalla is a community in Mount Vernon, New York, only about a 10-minute drive from Stamford, Connecticut, where Candace Owens used to live. So see you in Valhalla could quite literally mean something as simple as I'll see you in the apartment in Valhalla, New York. That's all. And it would make, and there's a huge development going on. There's a $1.5 or $2 billion are being spent right now. They call it the North 80 acres in Valhalla in Westchester are being used right now for one of the largest new biotech complexes in the United States of America is being built there. How convenient. See you in Valhalla might be simple as see you in Greenwich, Connecticut, see you in Stamford. Wouldn't that just be so simple if it was, take all the Norse mythology out of it? That's all it really was. Kash Patel himself used to live in Long Island, about an hour or so drive from there. Of course, that would mean that I would be thinking as opposed to shoving more receipts and evidence into your face. We're already 48 minutes in. I wanted this to be over in 45 minutes. So, who else here? Trump also, wow, look, no kidding. Trump also selected Vivek Ramaswamy. You know, that 28-year-old that has that really, really deep, super sophisticated voice. Sounds like he's really into business and stuff. Vivek Ramaswamy. Obviously, his accent and his speech method was trained by Shashi Tharoor. Of course it was. And here Shashi Tharoor is calling him out as well as an American hero. Did you know that Vivek was the co-lead for Doge with Elon Musk? So while all the Americans are going, Musk is good, Musk is bad, I want to buy a Tesla, I want to burn a Tesla, it's all about Musk. It was probably Vivek Ramaswamy who was there doing more of the work than anyone else. And of course, Vivek is a hand puppet for somebody else. Who knows who that person is? Whatever the case, here Shashi Tharoor is saying America's divided, and it has some root in India or some mistrust of Indians, and he lists Jayanta Bhattacharya, Kash Patel, and Vivek Ramaswamy. But there's more there. So, the MAGA movement, white nationalist faction. What faction? I dare you to find a well-organized group of whites who are just hanging out and believe in a shared mission of whiteness. Can you find white people, white-ish people that don't like people who are not as white? Yeah, I guess. They are anything but organized, though. That's sort of like saying the black nationalist movement. I dare you to find more than maybe just 2 or 3 people meet up every once in a while for some weird reason. A large movement of dark people that are solely committed to getting rid of the lightness. There's no movements like this. This is bullshit. This is just total bullshit. Just because you put it in words doesn't mean it's real. It just means that someone, this is a concept that constantly is being pushed. So MAGA's white nationalist hardliners extends beyond the Indian. However, on November 14th, 2024, Musk, who had hired Krishnan, who's Krishnan, in 2022 to run Twitter. Oh, so Musk hired an Indian to run Twitter after acquiring it. Put on X for suggestions for Doge. Christian replied, anything to remove country caps for green card / unlock skilled immigrants would be huge. When Trump announced Christian's nomination the following month, the backlash was immediate. Wow. One prominent MAGA activist, Laura Loomer is being spoken about by Shashi Tharoor. You would think that Shashi Tharoor would be a name that everyone would know about right now, but you have been misled. You've been lied to by people who won't say India. Oddly enough, the money in India and the leaders in India know about you. And they know about the people that you follow, and they know about your differences and your skirmishes. It's almost as if they're paying other podcasters and influencers in America to give you a limited worldview. And you are so drowning in evidence and receipts that you don't even know what you're missing. If you give people enough receipts and enough evidence, they can't think anymore. Evidence becomes the enemy of critical thinking at some point. It's used as a weapon to get you to not think. Very impressive. David Sachs, Trump's nominee for White House AI and crypto czar, pointed out, of course, David Sachs is not an American. He may have U.S. citizenship right now, but David Sachs is a South African. So a white English South African, probably one of the reasons why Shashi Tharoor likes him. I bet you Shashi Tharoor likes Patrick Soon-Chung also. Trump's nominee for White House AI and crypto czar. Wasn't that wonderful? We have a South African being given the job of AI and crypto czar. Boy, that's America first. Good job, Trump. You kind of failed that one. Pointed out every country currently is, quote, allocated the same number of green cards, no matter how many qualified applicants it has. Talking about what, the United States? As a result, applicants from India have an 11-year wait, whereas applicants from many other countries have no wait at all. That can't possibly be true, because I've worked in the tech industry and I've worked with people who are no older than 22 years old. If there's an 11-year wait, now I know that was a while ago, but if there's an 11-year wait, how did 22-year-olds get into the United States and get H-1B visas? And immediately, even though they could barely speak English, we're making as much money as many Americans. I think that there's other schemes going on where there's financial incentives to hire people from India. Or at least there were. Now there's the whole increases in fees for visas thing. That's definitely having a negative impact. And Shashi Tharoor, of course, is one of the people who's speaking loudest against it. And if India is so fantastic and great and everything's running on all cylinders, why do you need to send people to America to work? Is it because you have your own problems and it's just a whole lot easier to go to other countries and get money and intellectual property from there? Not to mention have more and more influence in other countries, maybe even someday have enough political influence and political capital and financial capital in a nation like the United States to at some point actually have control over the U.S. Navy, something which would be incredibly valuable if you were India. I don't know, just throwing that one out there. This is a much longer article than I wanted. I'm not going to finish it right now. I have a lot of other stuff to do. This is the stuff that you should have already been presented. It's not your fault that you haven't found this already. It's not really my fault either, though I apologize that it took me so long to get here. The fault is in other people that we have probably collectively sent money to. Candace Owens and people around her, to promote nonsense and to drown us with receipts. And to even go so far as to say the U.S. military is now killing Americans. It's absolutely deplorable and disgusting. The truth is here. The truth is out there. You won't find the truth just by following evidence. You have to look at evidence, and then you have to think. And you can't think don't just take my thoughts, okay, and run with it, okay? Use your own critical thinking skills. If you're not coming to similar or rhyming or resonant conclusions on your own from what I'm, as my own analysis, then obviously I'm not analyzing properly, and I don't have the right evidence in front of me. Obviously, there's failures here, but I believe you will. I do check this stuff out with several people before I go, click the button and go on the air. I run these thoughts by other people, and we all should have been here earlier, but we've all been grotesquely and intentionally misled by other people who probably take money from India or from other UN sources to never hear the word India, which is just in and of itself so absurd. Just, what? And at this point right now, I think people have to pay, they get dinged if they ever say the word India. So just open up the transcripts of the last several videos, people like Candace Owens and others who promote her. If they're not saying India regularly, then either never listen to them anymore, definitely take away whatever financial support you gave them, give it here. I've paid the price. I've led people to the right destination over and over again. I got PayPal, Patreon, HoustonTonic.live, HoustonTonicITS.com, P.O. Box 505, Southborough, Massachusetts, 01772. I have some letters from you, Bob, I need to open. I'm going to get to that soon. Like I said, good stuff happening over the next week. And if you do have to keep listening to them, which can be valuable because they can tell you what the distractions are, and then you can just compound search the distractions, such as with Richard Verma, as I just did with ROTC, and boom, Air Force. Oh, he's an Air Force lawyer. Of course, that would be involved. That's how you do research. All right, guys. Thank you. Take care. Just search online. It's, by the way, it's in SundayTimes. What's the URL? SundayTimes.LK, I think. But you can find it. Shashi Tharoor, Sunday Times, The Indians Dividing MAGA, January 12th, 2025. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. Have a great morning. Thank you. Take care. And God bless.